What's happening, y'all? Welcome to Straight Shooting. I'm Matt Basson. He's AJ Riley. Glad to have you back with us. Quick reminder, like, subscribe wherever you can find us. That'd be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, full episodes on YouTube. AJ, we are set. Final Four is set. And somehow through this crazy bracket of one's going down, two's going down, 15's getting to the Elite Eight.
Oh, my goodness.
With Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, and Villanova. It sounds like 4-1 seeds to me.
I know. After that first weekend, I think half of my bracket was gone. And probably even actually more than that. And then by the second weekend, I'm not even totaling points anymore in our bracket pool because all of my teams are gone.
Sweet 16 killed me. My national championship game, my Arizona Wildcats versus Gonzaga, both got knocked out in the Sweet 16. So that definitely wasn't happening at this point. I was rooting for chaos, rooting for the Peacocks.
I was too. I was a little disappointed that reality set in for the,
for the Peacocks.
For the Peacocks, man. I was like hoping if they could have pulled that off, that'd have been
still
incredible. Yeah, hats off. If I had a hat, I'd tip it to you.
You're the greatest Cinderella of all time. Hands down.
Yeah.
This tops UMBC, who, look, they did the unthinkable. 16 seed beat a 1. But
then lost the next round.
Right. I would venture that this 15 beating a 2 in Kentucky is just as good as a 16 beating that 1 in Virginia, because that Virginia offense was anemic and they lived off of their defense. But to continue it, you took down Murray State, who had won 21 games in a row. Not the hardest of 10 seeds, 7-10 seeds, but still, you're a 15 seed. You're not supposed to beat them. And then you take down Purdue, a 3. So you take down a 2 and a 3, and you make it to a place that no 15 seed has ever been to, no 14 seed, no 13 seed. You are hands down the greatest Cinderella, but I feel like it's cheating calling them Cinderella because they're a bunch of men from New York that play basketball. And they ain't scared of nobody. They play harder games at practice and in the streets, and it showed absolutely all the way. They weren't scared of North Carolina. North Carolina's just a good team that got hot at the right time and took it to them to Sunday. So hats off, though, to the Peacocks of St. Peter's. You are the memory of this NCAA tournament.
Yeah, great run. We're sad to see it come to an end, but we do have, setting up on Saturday, a pretty good Final Four. A pretty doggone good Final Four that will be headlined by an old rivalry.
An old rivalry that's never faced off in the NCAA tournament ever. You've had Duke and North Carolina running basketball on and off for 40 years, and they've never met in the NCAA tournament.
And what a send-off it's going to be one way or the other for Coach K, right? Of course, it happens this year. It has to.
Of course it does.
It has to. In the year of a tournament that is built on forced narratives with the MSU playing Dayton, and then, of course, making the 7-seed Michigan State play the 2-seed Duke if they both won. Of course, you get a perfectly scripted narrative of the North Carolina Tar Heels taking on the Duke Blue Devils in the Final Four for Coach K's last hurrah. And I know, as a just avid Coach K fan, you are just eating this up. You're loving it. This is going to be like the greatest moment of your life to see this happen next Saturday.
Look, even as a child, before Michigan State and Duke became a thing, because it really became a thing once Izzo took over and they started matching up in the NCAA tournament. And the ACC Big Ten Challenge obviously helped things as well. There was more of a chance of Duke and Michigan State. But Izzo has always been known for scheduling hard games in the regular season. Kansas, Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, whoever. So we got to see a lot of Duke and Michigan State, and I hated Duke for that. I hated Duke my freshman year of college, Arizona versus Duke in the national championship my freshman year. Hated Duke long before that. I have always loved the Carolina blue so much more than the Duke blue. I have an Ed Cota jersey hanging up in the rack with a bunch of other jerseys. I've always been a more Carolina fan, even though Michael Jordan went there and I had a rivalry with Michael Jordan. Didn't matter. Rasheed Wallace went there. I had a bunch of players. Vince Carter, bunch of players. I've always been North Carolina. So I've always hated Duke for different reasons. But there's no way not to respect what Mike Krzyzewski has done. He's one of the greatest college coaches of all time. He's one of the greatest basketball coaches of all time. And to have this happen in his send-off, because it's his Final Four. It's his Final Four, one way or the other. Win or lose. This is the last one he's going to. So we already know that. Is it going to be his final national championship game following it up? But for Duke and North Carolina to meet after the way that it ended at Cameron, 100 former Duke players there to send off their head coach in the final home game, their final game against North Carolina, we thought, and it went UNC's way. So now Duke has a chance for revenge. Both teams really clicking at the right time. We have seen Duke grow up in this NCAA tournament. They grew up against Michigan State, really. When Michigan State went up 5 with a few minutes left, they didn't do what they did against North Carolina because they were in that position against North Carolina, and they settled for outside shots, and that helped make their downfall happen. Against Michigan State, they kept attacking, and it proved the difference in that game. So you've seen this team grow up. You've seen North Carolina really grow up and get hot. So perfect time for this perfect storm in Mike's final run.
Yeah, and I mean that growing up, right, happened in such a quick turnaround too. From the time that they lost on Coach K night, it really wasn't Coach K night because he's apologizing to the fans after him for a terrible showing. Since then, I mean, yeah, that game against Michigan State that Duke played, I was like a little upset because I had Duke advancing, but then at the same time, happy for my friends here that are Michigan State fans. And I was like, Michigan State's, they're looking pretty good. They're moving the ball. They're putting the ball in they're up 5 with like 3 to go and Duke struggling. And then all of a sudden it was just like an entire onslaught of just bucket after bucket after turnover after bucket. And it was just like, oh my goodness. Okay. All right. Well, Coach K kind of was not ready to go out in the second round of this tournament. And then just to watch how I think fast North Carolina plays. Just them against UCLA in the first half, just up and down and up and down. Like the commentators were even saying, like,
they weren't whistling them; they just kept playing.
Not at all. I don't think the first whistle blew until, I mean, this is probably hyperbolic, but until that like under 11 TV timeout, right? It was just the commentators even said, "Oh, the whistles do work," and I was like, "Yeah, they do." That was I was just very impressed. So to see UNC kind of get over that hump of UCLA, because that was looking like it could get a little sketch for them there, and then to meet up with Duke in the Final Four, it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be there's going to be a lot riding on it. Clearly, a chance to go to the national championship, potential to end Coach K's career, or potential to keep Coach K's career going for one more game, right? It's going to be, and the media coverage and the narratives that are going to surround this game, Matt, I'm pretty sure that on Friday I'm just turning off like all media and TV anyway, because I'm just going to be like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, thank God this is a Final Four matchup and not a national championship, because if it was a national championship, all you're getting is Sunday. That's all you're getting for the media coverage of this game. No, we're going to get tonight, because it's already started. So Sunday night, we're going to get Monday, we're going to get Tuesday, we're going to get Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday morning. Like, we've got a week's worth
going to be an
North Carolina coverage. And everyone who's not a Duke North Carolina fan is going to want to blow their brains out. But at least it's for the last time involving Coach K. But,
At least
of course, it's for the Final Four, so they have a week of coverage for this.
Oh, yeah, of course. But again, forced narrative, right? They couldn't have put them in opposite regions. They had to put them in the same region so they could potentially get, or not the same region, but the same side of the bracket, so they could potentially get their Final Four matchup. Because let's be honest, right? Nobody cares about the national championship. It's all about the Final Four. It's all about the Final Four. And then the two teams that win, it's kind of like an afterthought. Like, yeah, go play your game. But the climax.
Well, yeah, it's the whole experience. And when you have this situation where look, if it's Duke that gets past North Carolina, and now you've got Duke versus Villanova, and it's Jay Wright, or it's Duke versus Kansas, and it's Bill Self. And we've already started talking, or at least the media pundits have, about who is going to pick up the mantle of Coach K. Well, you've got two contenders on the other side of the Final Four that very likely could be that person, especially a Jay Wright
narrative
who has 2 national championships to his name.
Forced narrative.
Of course.
Look,
I mean, also, you know what else we got? We got the Corona commercial happening in real life right now. You know, the one where they're arguing about which shade of blue is best on the beach?
Oh, yeah.
But instead of Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky, and UConn, we've got Duke, North Carolina, Villanova, and Kansas. They've all got different shades of blue. We got the whole commercial with 2 different teams. They're all blue bloods. They all came here in different ways. And we're going to get so sick of this by the time Saturday rolls around.
Oh, my goodness. It is going to
have to do this again with Ryan on throwing stones.
Yep. Tomorrow, catch out throwing stones. Yeah, it's gonna be nuts, man. So let's not even continue it. Let's move off of it completely. We've already added to it.
I agree. Let's just change sports altogether, AJ.
Let's do it. We've already added to it.
Not talking about a round ball.
We apologize.
Let's go to an oblong shaped one.
Yeah, let's go to that one.
All right, so we've been following, keeping close eye, NFL free agency. There's still a lot of names out there that we're waiting to see where they go. Rob Gronkowski, we're most likely assuming he's going to sign with Tampa Bay and play with Tom Brady. Odell Beckham's still out there. I think probably because he's hurt is probably one of the reasons he has not been picked up immediately. Julio Jones apparently still wants to play football. Antonio Brown apparently still wants to play football. But out of ones that have actually already happened, we're hearing that the Kansas City Chiefs are getting a little bit of running back help in former Buccaneers running back Ronald Jones on what I'm going to call a prove yourself 1 year, $5 million deal, AJ.
Yeah, I mean, it's not sexy.
No,
it's not even really something that, you know, in a faster, heavier paced sports week, we probably don't even talk about Rojo, right?
Nope.
But yeah, he's going to Kansas City. Good for him. Maybe he'll have a chance to supplant a somewhat disappointing but really good when he's in there, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You know, I don't know. I mean, hopefully he can hang on to the football because I know he fumbles a ton, and that's why. I mean, other than Leonard Fournette being Leonard Fournette, he ended up losing his job. But he's a reliable back. He's
24. You know, he's had two out of his 4 seasons. He's eclipsed the 1,000-yard mark from scrimmage, so he knows he can play in this league. But yeah, once Leonard Fournette came, he was obviously the backup. He only had 428 yards last year, only got in the end zone 4 times. And the Chiefs definitely need running back help. They lost Jerick McKinnon. They lost Darrell Williams. All they've got is Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who impressive rookie season, good rookie season. Sophomore year, not so much. Injury definitely played a factor, but before he got injured, he wasn't lighting the field on fire. After he came back, wasn't lighting the field on fire. So, you know, CEH has got some stuff to prove as well. I think that's a good thing when both your running backs probably feel like they have something to prove. You know, they're both young. Like Ronald Jones is only 24 years old. Doesn't seem like he's been in the league for 4 years already, but both of them having something to prove. The Chiefs definitely need running back help. And, you know, he's on a 1 year, prove yourself, $5 million deal. It's a good get for the Chiefs. It's not a giant splash by any means, but I don't know who's left at the running back position that would be a giant splash. You need the help. But now it's, you know, we're sitting back in the waiting game of who else is going where. Are the Chiefs going to replace the wide receiver? Are they going to go get Odell? Maybe bring him to Kansas City? Maybe they take that chance on AB?
I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see if anybody does take a chance on AB
at this point in time after all the chances.
Now, look, I mean, there's, you know, 2 sides to every story. So, you know, with him getting thrown off the field and or quitting on his team, you know, depending on who you listen to and who you believe, I mean, but it just seems like that man needs like serious help. And I don't say that in a tongue-in-cheek way. I say that in a sense that since the moment he took that hit from, was it Ryan Shazier?
No, Vontaze Burfict.
That's perfect. Ryan Shazier was the one.
Ryan Shazier was on the Steelers. No, Vontaze Burfict.
Right.
Ruined this man's
Ryan
game.
Shazier was on the Steelers, but he had a very similar injury that left him.
Well, that left him with a spinal injury. Yeah.
Yeah, spinal injury. But then, Vontaze
AB's seems like it's been a bit of a brain injury since that hit. There's just a lot of more outlandish stuff that has happened by him.
And all the drama, signing with the Raiders and then never even playing it down with the Raiders. And then the whole like frostbite issue on his feet and posting all that to Instagram.
I forgot about the frostbite.
Like in a cold tub or something like that. It was
he was in the cryo.
Yeah,
freezer,
the cryo freeze. Yeah.
And apparently it wasn't set up right.
And then going to New England and being dismissed from New England with Tom Brady, and then
attacking his so-called friends. I mean, Tom Brady's been nothing but great to him as far as we've seen in the public. Okay, we don't know behind the scenes, obviously, but from everything we've seen in the public, Tom Brady in general, pretty great to his wide receivers, and
for sure,
he commended him and pointed it out, and then he turned around and attack him, and then turn around and say, "Never mind, I was wrong," and defend him again. And it's like there's just been so much with this man. Look, he's talented beyond belief.
I would prefer he get healthy than he get, between the lines again.
But Kansas City's been known for giving second chances. I mean, weren't they the ones who signed Josh Gordon? I don't remember seeing him play much, but pretty sure the Chiefs ended up picking him up this last go around after his, umpteenth marijuana suspension. But we've seen it with, we've seen it with wide receivers that they've chosen. Tyreek Hill had a black eye on his name. There was video, him looking really abusive. Still ended up sticking around there and getting paid and playing. Wide receivers that weren't great. Sammy Watkins was able to kind of come in there and kind of revamp his career a little bit. So maybe it's a place where AB gets another second chance.
Yeah, but isn't that what we said with New England? Isn't that what we said with Tampa Bay?
Yeah, but it keeps happening. So
people keep paying them. So I mean, if the shtick wants to continue, then and people want to keep signing them, great. But I just don't know, man. If I was running a team, I don't think I'd come anywhere close. AB.
No, I mean, with who's left?
If I was gonna sign drama, I would sign Odell, who's arguably a better.
That's what I was gonna
receiver, who proved that he could get his stuff together with the Rams,
right?
And maybe he wasn't necessarily the problem in Cleveland.
No, Cleveland's the problem in Cleveland.
Cleveland's always the problem in
Cleveland is always the problem in Cleveland. But no, Odell absolutely, it didn't work. It absolutely didn't work in Cleveland. And as much as he enjoyed playing with his best friend in Jarvis Landry, it just wasn't working there. Was able to go to the Rams and prove everybody wrong if they were against him, right if they were hanging with him. And it's a shame what happened. It's a shame in that second quarter of the Super Bowl that he tears his knee, because I don't think we're even mentioning his name as hanging out there if that doesn't happen. I think he quickly re-signs with the Rams unless someone comes up with a big contract for him, which would probably be his final big contract at this point in his career.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So it's a shame that he's still there, but he's going to go somewhere. He's going to get healthy at some point. You probably have him at the tail end of the year, but at some point, some team is going to snatch him up because he's too much of a talent to just let be sitting out there.
I mean, if you're the Lions,
I don't know if Odell he already dealt with that in Cleveland. Does he want to come to Detroit and do the same thing?
Detroit is not Cleveland, and shame on you for comparing the two.
We got quarterbacks that can't do much.
Listen,
in fact, so much so that I wanted them to play against each other and fight for the starting spot in Detroit.
Listen. I'm telling you, Detroit is not Cleveland. Okay,
no, I didn't say it was.
Right. Well, you said he's already dealt with that in Cleveland.
Right. He dealt with a quarterback that is some hype and not much substance, which is exactly what I think.
That would be the case. That would be the case if we signed Baker and made him the starting quarterback. As you proposed.
There's a whole lot of hype there for AJ. Didn't you hear? He took a team to the Super Bowl. Well, he didn't ride a defense to the Super Bowl. He didn't ride a running game to the Super Bowl. No, he took that team to the Super Bowl.
I thought you meant like hype was like the drama and all. Could you imagine if we actually Could you imagine if we actually did make that trade you were talking about and traded for Baker but had already signed Odell and brought those two back together.
Must see TV. Get us
like,
on Hard Knocks.
I'm telling you, God,
HBO comes knocking.
Like the worst for our culture, but also at the same time, like you would think Odell would be like, what layer of Dante's Inferno am I now existing in? Because now I am in Detroit with the same doggone quarterback that couldn't hit the ball, fall out of a boat and hit water. Like, I mean, goodness gracious.
Sign me up. I'll watch it.
I don't think I want to be honest with you.
Yeah, you have fun hanging out with Captain Checkdown then.
Hey, efficiency, man. Efficiency. Look, when I dislike somebody when I am defending and propping up Jared Goff.
Yeah, you really don't like Baker Mayfield.
I don't. I told you that. I literally compared the man to Johnny Manziel.
Can we be real, though? I mean, you have Texas in your blood. Is a little bit of this Oklahoma, Texas, is a little bit of this Red River?
I mean, it's not because.
You sure?
No, I despise the Oklahoma Sooners football program even before I moved to Texas. Before I moved to Texas. It's the same reason why I think Kyler Murray's an overhyped quarterback. It's the same reason I thought Baker was overhyped coming out of college. Don't really believe that either of them necessarily deserve their Heismans, but it is what it is. They're just system guys that have good fantasy success. That's why everybody likes them, but not success that actually matters in the NFL. So.
Okay. All right. Well, we will obviously, this will be a week-to-week, episode-to-episode thing for us where we're still keeping track because there are still a good amount of names out there. I mean, Bobby Wagner's still out there defensively. That'd be one I'd love for the Lions to go grab. Why not?
Didn't he sign with the Rams? Or is that not official?
I don't know if that's official yet. I saw them looking and talking. I didn't see an official signing or announcement. I could be wrong.
He just visited. You're right. He just visited.
Yeah. So he's still out there.
Just wanted to make sure.
Brad Holmes, I'm sure he could sneak into that Rams complex and snatch him away real quick.
Bring him on board, man.
Maybe his credentials still work.
Just as long as he doesn't draft Malik at 2. Anyways, continue.
But yeah, so he's out there. Jadeveon Clowney's still out there. Tyrann Mathieu still out there. There's some defensive studs that are still out there.
Now, Matthew is a name that I would definitely be interested in Detroit. Clowney, not so much.
Honey Badger in Detroit? Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. I would definitely, especially if we're trying to shore up that back end of the defense and we don't need to draft Kyle Hamilton at 2 because we signed Tyrann Mathieu. Like, I would that would definitely be a name that I'd be like, please, please, please get to Detroit. More so than anybody else you just listed.
Okay. All right, well, there you go. Now you know. High on AJ's list, Tyrann Mathieu, Honey Badger, come to Detroit. So that's all we got right now for football for you. Like I said, we'll be keeping track of that throughout the weeks coming because a lot more names still left to be signed.
Yeah.
So we got to go back to round ball now. Different round ball. Smaller round ball. Much more
better round ball. The better round ball.
So, AJ, I need to get your thoughts on this because the MLB has apparently made a bunch of new proposals to the players on sign stealing. Now, the first rule I saw was no scouting cards. You can't put them in your helmet, nothing like that you can use during an at-bat.
Yeah, so when I saw this, I honestly thought this was a practical joke at first. Because I was like, who's putting scouting cards in their helmet? But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, well, they do take off their helmet literally after every pitch. So now that makes sense. But I never, picked up on it. I never, thought twice about it, right? I just, you're adjusting your helmet. It's all good. But, no, they're, looking and then putting it back on. So, how do I feel about it?
For that rule specifically. For this rule specifically, you can't have
the scouting card rule.
Yeah,
the scouting card rule. Yeah, no, I mean, look, if we're going to steal signs, as signs have been stolen throughout the history of baseball, right? I mean, there's stories of Hank Greenberg when they were in the 41 World Series with one of their guys who was hurt sitting in the bleachers with a hunting scope and looking at the catcher's signs and then would hold up, would put his hat on or take his hat off if it was a breaking ball or a fastball kind of thing. And so it was crazy. Anyway, signs have been stolen. For me though, the whole point of stealing those signs is coming up with a system that is undetectable.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And for both sides, for the defense that's giving the sign and for the offense that's trying to steal the sign, let's come up with a system that doesn't clue people into the fact that we're stealing signs. And why do you for me, the scouting card is the weird one. Like,
I just want to know how they keep it in there because your head's sweating. That paper is not going to stay dry. So are you laminating scouting cards?
They're all laminated.
So you have one you just know which pitcher you're grabbing the scouting card for, throw it in the helmet, and
yeah, I'd almost guarantee
that would distract me.
Listen, I don't understand why the scouting card information on the helmet, why that would cut down on stealing signs though.
These are from what I've seen, it's been 3 proposals. That was the first one, is that you couldn't use anything like that. The second one was that no club employee could print or deliver information to the dugout during the game. It has to happen before the first pitch. So you can get information, but as soon as that first pitch happens, it's cut off.
Yeah, I'm more okay with that one. Just because it kind of cuts down on the potential of what the Astros were doing, right? And really what this is listen, information is so streamlined. Do your homework, right? Do your homework. If you know, who's starting that night, you print off his scouting report, leave it in the dugout. But then look at it when you're in the dugout. You don't need it up at the plate. Do your homework.
Well, so now, player. And this third one is one they've actually used in spring training, which is similar to what we've seen in football plenty of times with a head coach talking to his quarterback, OC talking to his quarterback. You're going to have a mic system between the catcher and the pitcher where they can communicate that way on their pitches as opposed to, their hand signals.
Yeah, this one is actually one that I actually like. It's weird because of the technology that's involved, but I think it's pretty awesome. And if you want to cut down on sign stealing, this is the way you do it. According to MLB trade rumors, it's a technology called PitchCom that's being tested during spring training game, and the league is now offering that players can continue to use the system on a voluntary basis during the regular season. Basically, just an electronic wristband that has different pitches on it. The catcher taps that. I want a 2-seam, right? And then in the pitcher's earpiece, it would say 2-seam, right? Or what? That's just a very basic baseline level of it. But you want to cut down on pitch stealing or sign stealing. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. And if it's working, great. Some pitchers may not like that. Some catchers may not like that. That's why I'm appreciative that they're at least doing it on a voluntary basis.
I think you got one earpiece in, and you've got a one-way clicker that looks a lot like the umpire's tool for, counting balls and strikes, but it's got 4 buttons on it. It's got a fastball button, a curveball button, a slider button, a sinker button, whatever. And you hit the button that you want, and it beeps a number of times according to that number on your little clicker, and it goes back and forth that way. And because if you're sitting there talking, they're gonna read. Someone's gonna hear. Someone's gonna read lips. Something. So.
Yeah, that's this report from MLB Trade Rumor says it's a specialized wristband. So I don't think the catcher's holding a clicker. I think it's on an actual wristband. And I don't know. I haven't seen it. I haven't picked up on it on any of the spring training games that I've watched. But who knows? Could be a good evolution. I don't have any problem with it. I love stealing signs the old-fashioned way, personally, right? I don't need a camera in center field. I want to watch a sequence, and I want to see, is the coach in the dugout giving some kind of indicator, and then, following that sequence and being able to build that to help my team gain some kind of advantage. So I would love to see the old school stuff stay in, but it is what it is. And I think it's good. It could be good for the game.
I just love that baseball has had a well-known cheating scandal for the history of baseball, but they were able to just sweep it under the rug and just call it gamesmanship this entire time.
Well, it is, though. It is gamesmanship. You're always cheating. Well, yes and no. You're always looking to gain an advantage in any sport that you play, right?
Right. You got, teammates
And
trying
if
to get to the opposing team's huddle and listening to see what plays coming.
But listen, the same thing happens in football. I scouted plenty of Texas high school football teams, and my sole job, because I was a baseball guy, was to sit in the press box and steal their signs. So I would figure out who the offensive coordinator was, and I would write down the sign that he gave, and then I would write down the play that he did. And you're always looking. Listen, if you aren't cheating, you aren't trying. But at the same time,
to a certain extent,
right? I know, but I mean, there is, and I go back to what you just said. There is a certain extent. There is a gamesmanship that is involved, right? If I'm staying on second base and you're giving just one signal, you're asking me to steal that sign.
Exactly. I agree.
And so if you just put down that one finger for a fastball, then I'm gonna yell at my hitter, hey, so and so, call out their name fastball, number off speed, name fastball, number off speed, right? Hey, if you're only gonna give one sign, you're asking for it to be stolen. So
yeah.
And it's all gamesmanship, Matt. That's all it is. Don't call it anything other than gamesmanship.
It's the story of baseball. It's been a long
time
coming.
Cameras and trash cans and actual data and spreadsheets.
Yeah,
like that's where it crosses over.
That's your line. That's your line.
Yeah, because
you have to use technology, it's not okay.
But this is what we also said, Matt. Like, I need the people that are involved in the game, that are on the roster, that are part of the team, playing the gamesmanship.
Right.
Don't give me a hired hand to watch a video screen to figure out a sequence. Yeah. That's where I draw the line, personally. Okay. That's where I draw the line.
Well, we'll see where the players draw the line, because these have not been accepted. These are just proposals. But, hopefully we'll see something happening, because then we can stop hearing about this so much.
It is interesting that they're still making these proposals after the CBA's been signed.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing new rules added before the regular season starts. Yeah. When it first got done, there was no, I don't know why they're calling it a ghost man. I don't think they know what a ghost man was, because that was a player that wasn't actually there that you could play ball with. You only have so many players on your team. Right. But there wasn't anybody starting on second. And then a week or two later, it was up. There is somebody starting on second. So, we're getting closer to the season, and they're trying to get some things hammered out before they actually officially start the season.
Right.
So in the end, what actually makes it and what doesn't, because they run out of time. Season's right around the corner. We got about 2 weeks. Not even.
Yeah. Well, no, 2 full weeks. Well, not 2 full weeks. It's a week from Thursday, man. April 7th. Same day.
11 days.
So it's going to be a great Thursday. Right, you got Masters Thursday and opening day.
So not too many free agents were left to be signed. There's a couple of things we're still waiting down here in the Aaron Judge and the Yankees contract sides. Nothing's official yet. No numbers I've even heard yet. They're just predicting it to be high up there with all the other astronomical ones that we've seen. But one that did get through that we haven't discussed yet is, I think, a big one. And it's Trevor Story to the Boston Red Sox. A 6-year, $140 million deal. It's a 28-year-old, but he's only spent his entire time in the league, 6 years, in Colorado. And there's a stigma with players who have spent their career in Colorado and when they go somewhere else, AJ.
It's called the hangover effect, man. It's called the hangover effect. You can actually read about it in I think there's a book by a guy named Ryan Spader that looked at the careers of Todd Helton and Larry Walker, who have great and are Hall of Fame worthy players. But there was a little bit of a disparity. Not as much as you would think, and not anything to be like, oh my gosh. But, I mean, the hangover effect.
Larry Walker did pretty good to end his career in St. Louis.
For sure.
Right?
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not one of those situations that should detract. I think that where you play baseball is not something you can help unless you do sign there as a free agent, right?
Right.
Like, those guys being drafted by, the Rockies should not automatically disqualify them.
Right. But it also shouldn't surprise you that a shortstop signed by the Rockies is the fastest shortstop ever to reach 100 home runs.
Should not. It should not.
Should not surprise you. And that's what Trevor Story did. put himself in the history books in Colorado, added his name to the top 10 in franchise history for homers, doubles, triples, and stolen bases. He was tied for 14th last year. He stole 20 bags. So really good shortstop. Going to the Boston Red Sox, who, correct me if I'm wrong, AJ, have a really good shortstop already.
They do have a really good shortstop. However, they're getting a better defender in Trevor Story, who has agreed to move to second base because Xander Bogaerts, is still on, contract, and I think it was through the end of this year. I'm actually going to check that right now.
But player option. The contract itself runs through for the next few years.
It does run through for the next year.
At the end of this year.
Yes, he does. That's what it is. Exactly what it is. And if you're Xander Bogaerts, you're kind of sitting here thinking like, I have been a very good player for the Boston Red Sox for a pretty long time,
and a very good teammate.
And a very good teammate. I mean, he's been in the league since 13.
No, and yeah, he's been around and he's championed his teammates. He championed Trevor Story coming to the Red Sox. Mm-hmm. He hasn't shied away from cameras. He was out there talking about it, happy about it, happy that's going to help the ball club win games.
Mm-hmm. But it doesn't seem as if the Red Sox are too interested in maybe buying out that player option with an extension. Because if you're Xander Bogaerts, right, and you have in 2021 have a 5-WAR season and you hit 23 home runs and nearly 300 and you bat in 79, but you're a 30-WAR player over your career and you have produced well for the Boston Red Sox, 4-time Silver Slugger, 3-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champ, don't you expect that team to kind of re-up? He's 29 years old, so he's not old.
He's not old.
And getting a 4 to 5 year extension worth however much money, so take him into his 36th season. If I'm Xander Bogaerts, I'm going to call their bluff. And I'm going to say, listen, I've been a really good player. Hopefully he doesn't get hurt this year, right? Because if he gets hurt this year, then he's stuck on this contract. Right? But if I'm putting all my eggs into this 2022 season and going to bet on myself and be like, you know what, I made a lot of noise over my career. I'm a really good player. And if you want to have me on your team next year, Boston Red Sox, then you're going to have to sign me to a different contract because I'm opting out. I'm using my player opt-out. And hopefully he'll get that because, I mean, he's on a very team-friendly contract. It's only costing the Red Sox like $20 million a year, which is, it sounds like a lot, but it
sounds like a lot. But we've seen,
I mean, when their overall payroll though is, much, much more than that. So their overall payroll is 152. Total payroll 195 million. Only 20 million of that's Bogaerts.
Right. I mean, and they just agreed the contract with Story is paying him more than 20 mil a year. He's getting 140 over 6.
Right. So
I mean,
I would think they're very similar players, and they're not bad. Like, it's going to be interesting to see how Story transitions to second base, and maybe they have a good thing going for a few. I mean, you still got JD Martinez on that team. You've got Rafael Devers on that team.
They were in the World Series 2 years ago.
They're going to be a very good team, and they've added a very good player. Plus, Trevor Story's got that really short wall in left field. Man,
I mean, Story, he's played second base. He talked about it a bunch coming up through the, through high school and the minor league system and all that. He's played second base. He's not uncomfortable playing second base. This isn't like asking him to play first. We never played first. This is him sliding over 45 feet, and playing a position that he's played before. And if you have something a la a Jeter, A-Rod, shortstop third situation, but instead of shortstop second, and you get, great production out of this, I don't see how the Red Sox don't try to sign both and convince Story to play second, even though it's not his natural position. And the Red Sox have been in dire need of one since Dustin Pedroia went down. Mm-hmm. It's really been a platoon system for the Red Sox since Pedroia got hurt. But you've got two guys that can hit the ball, two guys with great defense, And one of these guys has been a fan favorite in Boston for years. He's been under the radar. He hasn't made a ton of noise. Pedroia was that, that little hype man captain when he was there. Obviously, Big Papi was Big Papi.
Yes.
Xander Bogaerts, like you said, been there for a while, since 2013.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just been steady Eddie.
He has
at a really high level.
I mean, he's a career 290 hitter, 141 home runs, just over 600 RBIs. And but the knock on Bogaerts is his defense. I mean, for his career, he's a .5 defensive WAR player. 0.5. So he's a half a run, half a win above a replacement defensively.
Because I'm looking at his numbers for fielding percentage, and he's a .985. So how is he not doing that much on defense while doing that much on defense?
Well, because I mean, you're that fielding percentage is one of those old stats, right?
Okay.
That doesn't get as much credit as, did you make the play or did you not make the play?
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I mean, fielding percentage can also be pretty subjective sometimes. Did the ball hit your glove? Did did the official scorekeeper count it as a hit when it should have been an error? So that can be subjective, whereas WAR is going to take into account a lot more factors. So I like fielding percentage still because I want to know if a guy can make a play when the ball's hit to him. But I'm also going to look at, deeper analytics, and Bogaerts being a .5 WAR over his career. Defensive WAR, let me clarify, he's a .5 defensive WAR, but almost a 30 WAR overall, right? Defensive and offensive combined. Tells you maybe a little bit of the hesitation. Like he wants to stay at shortstop, but maybe he's not cut out for shortstop. Maybe he should be the one that should have transitioned to second base, because Story over his career is a 10.6 defensive WAR. So
that's a big difference.
That is a big difference, right? 10.1 defensive WAR is pretty significant.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I just know that the Red Sox just got a lot better than they already were, and they were already a pretty good team.
Yep. And it just adds to the drama, of the AL East, which is always good for drama.
It's always good for drama, but I don't know if the Yankees know really what they're doing anymore. I think they're losing it a little bit, man.
Well, I don't know if I throw the Red Sox in that mix, considering they did just win a World Series a little bit ago. They've won quite a few since the turn of the century, and they've made some pretty good roster moves throughout the years, I think, overall. And while changing, different GMs throughout this run of World Series, there's been a few different GMs that have been up there at Yawkey Way.
Yeah, there have been. I mean, the curse breaker himself, Theo Epstein, right?
That's where it started.
It's where he started, and then the Cubs were like, hey, we want some of that magic. And then Dombrowski went there after he left the Tigers.
Yep, our boy.
Now they're with good old boy Bloom. So,
well,
yeah, I mean,
we got 11 days till first pitch, opening season, opening day. Cannot wait.
Cannot get here fast enough. We should already be playing baseball, actually. It should have been starting, I think, this weekend.
Yeah, it's too soon. It's too cold up north still.
You're right. I agree. I'm glad.
South, or just wait a little bit until you want to start the season.
Listen, I am not mad that baseball is starting in April and hopefully ending by the end of October, because that's exactly how it should be.
Yep.
Just pushing it up into March and stretching it into November is just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
All right, AJ, we're on the course on this one.
Yes, sir.
So thank you all for sticking with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you can find us. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, full apps on YouTube. He's AJ Riley. I'm Matt Basson. Thank you for hanging out with us and straight shooting. And we'll see you guys again real soon.